Hey everyone, welcome back. Today's episode is about two of the best and most surprising ways to learn English: movies and mistakes. We'll talk about how your favorite shows can help you understand real English, how to use subtitles the right way so you learn instead of just reading, and why making mistakes isn't something to fear, but something to celebrate. These methods are fun, natural, and honestly, some of the most effective ways to make English part of your everyday life.
That's true. Sometimes the best classroom isn't a classroom at all. It's your couch, your TV. I think we've all had that moment when we're watching something in English and suddenly realize we actually understood a joke or a phrase. That little moment feels like victory, right?
Absolutely. It's exciting because it shows that learning doesn't always have to be serious. So let's dive in and talk about how movies, or in my case, comedy shows, can actually make you fluent.
I've always been a movie guy. I learned a lot of English from films like Forrest Gump, Castaway, and The Martian. Those stories made me feel something, and the words stayed with me. But Anna, I know you're more into TV shows, especially comedies. How did that help you?
Oh, totally. For me, comedy shows such as The Office, How I Met Your Mother, and Friends were a game changer. I started watching Friends when I was a teenager, and it felt like a whole new world. They spoke fast, used slang, interrupted each other. It sounded nothing like my English lessons at school, but little by little, I started catching expressions like, "No way," "You gotta be kidding me," or "Give me a break." And suddenly, real conversations made sense.
That's so true. Comedy shows are full of real life situations. Sarcasm, emotions, even misunderstandings. They show how English actually feels, not just how it's written in a textbook. I think the magic happens when you start connecting words with emotions, gestures, and tone. That's when English becomes real.
And comedies are not the only great option. Lately, I've noticed that even animated movies can teach a lot, like Kung Fu Panda or Lilo and Stitch, for example. It's full of simple but powerful lines, spoken clearly and with real emotion. And not only for younger learners. Minecraft or Jumanji movie is just perfect. The language is modern, natural, and full of short, useful expressions that you actually hear in real life. It's proof that learning English can come from the things you already enjoy. Okay, let's get practical for a moment. People always ask, how do I watch in English if I don't understand everything? My advice: start with English audio and English subtitles. That combination is magic. You hear the sounds and see the words at the same time, which helps your brain connect spelling, pronunciation, and meaning.
I totally agree. And the goal is not to translate, it's to recognize. When you see a word you already know, your brain feels rewarded. When you see a new one, you start to understand it from the situation, not from a dictionary. It's active learning without pressure.
Exactly. And here's what worked for me. First, choose short episodes, as maybe 20 minutes. Watch them with English subtitles. Then, when something interesting comes up, pause. Repeat the line. Try to imitate the rhythm, even the tone of the actor. Then, write down the phrase, not the single word, because language lives in expressions, not in grammar boxes.
Yes, like in Friends, when Joey says, "How you doing?" That's not something you'll find in your grammar book, but it's pure everyday English. And when you repeat it out loud, your mouth learns how to move in English. That's just as important as understanding the meaning.
And once you've done that, here's the key step. Rewatch the same scene without subtitles. It's amazing how much more you understand after just one or two tries. It's like training your ears. Suddenly you hear things you didn't even notice before.
Right, and don't worry about missing words. You don't need to understand everything. Focus on the feeling, the context, the reaction. That's how kids learn. And honestly, it's how we all learned our first language.
And here's something funny. Even when you watch carefully, you'll still make mistakes. You'll mispronounce something or use a phrase in the wrong way, but that's okay. That's actually part of the process.
Exactly. So let's talk about that. How mistakes can become your best teachers. When I started speaking English, I wanted to be perfect. I was afraid of saying something wrong, of being judged, but then I realized something simple. Perfection kills progress. If you're too focused on not making mistakes, you stop speaking altogether.
I know that feeling. I used to overthink every sentence before I said it. But the truth is, English isn't about perfection, it's about communication. When I finally accepted that I will make mistakes, I started speaking more, and that's when I started improving faster.
Exactly, because every mistake gives you a clear lesson. You say something wrong once, but when the next time, your brain automatically corrects you. It's like touching something hot. You only need to do it once to remember forever.
That's true. I remember once in London, I told someone, I have 25 years. They smiled and said, You mean you're 25 years old? It was a bit embarrassing, but I never forgot that difference again. One small mistake, one permanent lesson.
Yes, those are the moments that stick. I once said, I'm agree, and someone corrected me. You mean I agree? At that moment, I felt silly, but later I realized I'd never make that mistake again. It became part of my English memory.
And that's why I tell my students not to be afraid. Mistakes are signals. They show you exactly where you need to focus. If you make a mistake, it means you're experimenting, trying, using the language. That's how you grow.
Totally. You can't learn to swim without getting wet. You can't learn to speak without making mistakes. And the funny part is, the more mistakes you make, the faster you build confidence. Because you realize that nothing bad happens when you say something wrong.
Right? Sometimes people even find it charming. I've seen learners laugh at themselves and say, Oops, that was funny, and everyone smiles. That relaxed attitude makes learning smoother and more enjoyable.
Exactly. The best learners I've met are not the ones who memorize the most. They're the ones who keep talking, even after a mistake. They treat each error like feedback, not failure. If you learn to see mistakes as steps forward, you'll never stop improving. Every wrong sentence brings you closer to the right one.
You know what's interesting? Movies and mistakes actually work together. When you watch something and then try to use a new phrase, you might get it slightly wrong, but that's how it becomes yours, through practice and correction.
Exactly. You take something from the screen, you try it in real life, maybe you mix it up, and then your brain fixes it. It's like turning movie English into your English. You learn not just to understand, but to use it.
Yes, that's why passive learning isn't enough. You can watch 1,000 movies and still not improve, unless you take those words and use them, even if you make mistakes. That's where the real growth happens.
Yes, laugh at your mistakes. They're part of the process. So, thanks for today.
See you next time, everyone. And until then, keep watching, keep laughing, and keep learning.